Hey everyone, JT here with you. So I married a record collector channel. Making a video today to showcase my purchases I made when we were recently down in Illinois in the Loves Park, Rockford area. Heidi's mother, we moved her down there into my brother-in-law's house. So we spent a few days down there, and in the midst of all the hecticness of moving someone and driving and unloading a truck, we had some time to do some record shopping at night to unwind and relax. That's what we do. It's what we all do, right? In this hobby. Visited some cool stores and an antique mall. My brother-in-law Robert gifted me his Revolver box set. It's CDs though, which I kind of prefer for convenience, and that's what he had. I can't be picky. So thank you, Robert, for that. He kept his Sgt. Pepper box because that's what he prefers, but Revolver's my Beatles album. So thank you for that, Robert. We visited, like I said, we visited about 3 stores, and right before leaving, we were gifted something which is a big grail to fans of a certain Rockford, Illinois rock and roll band. So stick around to see what that is, and also to check out what my purchases were. The first store we visited was a small but nice little store called CD Source in Loves Park, Illinois, not far from where my brother-in-law lives. Cool little store, nice selection, decent prices. Of course, CDs are a lot cheaper now than they were used. I didn't buy any vinyl there, although there was a Monkees compilation that I started to feel what we call rescue syndrome, and I feel like I should have bought it, not that I needed it. It was just one of those cool looking things, just that Monkees compilation on Laurie House with a plain white cover, and it has RCA custom labels to like sky blue color, and it just looks so neat, and I regret not buying it because it was cheap, but don't really need it. Sometimes you gotta say no. But I didn't, like I said, I didn't buy any vinyl there. A nice kid behind the counter, friendly, talkative. I asked him about the Make It in Rockford album, and he was, I guess, too young to know about it. And when I explained it to him, he was like, And I said, look it up online. It's on the FMU Beware of the blog. And he looked it up as I was leaving the store, and he was playing it on his phone. As I turned around, he was like, it must have shocked his head. But I bought a few CDs there. Like I said, no vinyl. The first one I bought was Blue Cheer, Outside Inside, the Sundays issue. Now this was, like I just said, this was one of those rescue syndrome feelings, because I had this on CD from Mercury Polygram from the mid-90s, but it's kind of an upgrade because it has a better fold out with some liner notes, and of course, being Sundays, it probably has better sound, might not sound as flat as the old Mercury Polygram, although that doesn't sound flat. But like somebody was saying, CDs kind of, the loudness beats you up, whereas an LP, it washes over you and envelopes you. But this is their second album, Outside Inside. It originally came out in '68. It's titled Inside Outside because they recorded it in regular studios, but outside on piers in New York City and San Francisco. My friend Robert out in Marin County, I remember him telling me a story. Somebody he knew, an older gentleman, remembers driving along the highway along the bay and seeing a rock and roll band on a pier and going, oh my God, it's Blue Cheer recording outside. Some story like that. Just as loud as Vince Smith's Eruptum, but the songwriting's a little better. Some of the songs have actual, honest to God, hooks. Probably my favorites on here are Babylon, Come and Get It, their cover of Satisfaction, which is whacked, and the small instrumental Magnolia Caboose Baby Finger, which Mudhoney covered as Magnolia Caboose Baby Shit on their self-titled album. So Blue Cheer, Outside Inside, 1968, the Sundays release from 2012. Next up, there was a lot of CDs by this artist there. Not surprisingly, it's a good thing, but this is Chuck Berry on Top from MCA, the 1987 CD. I have a CDR of this somewhere. I mean, most of this, you guys all know about Chuck Berry, unless you're too young. Like Cub Coda says, never trust a bar band, they can't play any Chuck Berry. And I grabbed this, of course, because it was super cheap, all the CDs were. All these songs I pretty much have on most of my other CDs. And I grabbed this, I think, for the track JoJo Guns. I couldn't remember if that's on the Chuck Berry box that I have. But it was cheap, it was cool. It's got that song Anthony Boy, which is kind of goofy, novelty fun. Next up is back in the 90s, Frank Zappa decided to make his own money off of bootleggers who bootlegged him, and he put out a bunch of infamous, famous, legendary Zappa bootlegs out on his own Rhino distributed label called Fooey. And this is The Mothers at the Ark, Boston, 1968. I love the early Mothers. I like a lot of Zappa stuff, but the early years are my favorite. So this has Big Leg Emma, Status Back Baby, and of course a big long version of King Kong. Just got finished, and I was in the middle of reading it while we were down there, Shaky, the Neil Young biography, so I wanted to grab some Neil Young. I wanted to get Rust Never Sleeps on CD. They had the LP there, but I wanted the CD. As you know, I buy more CDs than LPs for convenience sake, and also they're cheaper, because going to the radio station, I can't bring all vinyl. I have to hire an unpaid intern to haul crates down. Plus, we only have, in each studio, there's only one turntable. But anyway, bought a copy of Live Rust from the Rust Never Sleeps tour. Can't wait to play this. I did own this on LP, sort of, in the 90s when I got gifted a collection once, but I didn't keep it for whatever reason. So I'm hoping to dig into that soon. And then I have, this is Tim Buckley, his first 2 albums on one CD from Warner's, one of those great twofers. I have Goodbye and Hello already on CD separately, but this has his debut album included, which I don't think I've ever had. Of course, it was very cheap and affordable, so I grabbed it. What the hell? It's in the original slipcase, so it's still in good shape. And that's what I got at CD Source in Loves Park, Illinois. Oh, and also on the side of their store, their logo's painted. The wall is black, and their logo store name is painted in purple, like Black Sabbath's Master Reality album. So check them out when you're there. Nice store, nice kids running it. The next place we hit up, which wasn't that far away, was I think it was just called the Rockford Antique Mall. It was in a commercial building, entrance around the back, a huge, cool antique mall. Tons of great stuff, lots of 60s and 70s toys we were just drooling over that we couldn't afford because they were very expensive. I regret not buying a Route 66 game was there, not the TV show. This was about the actual highway, because it was only like $6-8, but looking around at other stuff, I brain farted and forgot about it. A lot of original Nylant brand toy trucks there, because Nylants were manufactured in Rockford for years, and there was a wall of them, all in their original packaging. It was like so cool, because I have some original Nylants myself, although they've been very well played with. When I was little, my uncle was a U-Haul dealer guy through his gas station, and at Christmas, like twice in a row, I got Nylant U-Haul trucks and things, so those are really cool to have. Not a lot of records in the mall. And if there were, like most antique malls, big money, poor condition, and just a lot of junk. But I picked up 2 things. The first thing I picked up was the Swinging Medallions, double shot of My Baby's Love on Smash from 1966, I believe. The funny thing is, when I shared this on Facebook in one of my private music groups, one of my friends says, "It really took that many guys to write that song?" Now, we all know the story about the lyric changed. Some copies say, "She loved me so long, she loved me so hard, I finally passed out in her front yard," but then they had to change it to a line that right now I'm blanking on, I don't remember. So I don't know which version is on this, but typical mid-60s Southern frat house rock and roll with covers of Barefoot and Wooly Bully, Louie Louie, of course, Hang On Sloopy. But it might be, I saw it, it was cheap. I said, why not? I like Nuggets, I like garage rock, stuff like that. So the long playing albums by these one-hit wonders are always very interesting to me. The other LP I bought has a Yardbirds connection. I can't believe I found this here, and I assume it's an American copy, the way I looked it up. This is Shoot on the Frontier on EMI Records from, I forgot to look up, from 1973, and this features on drums Jim McCarty of the Yardbirds, lead vocals, keyboards, and percussion. Don't know much about this. I'd have to go back and look in Jim's book I have. Really, I can't tell you too much about this because I didn't research it much. I remember the kid at the counter was really fascinated by the artwork, because he said he was watching something on television that was like a documentary on this type of art. But there's the band, there's Jim. It's on EMI USA, which is, I don't know the long history. I don't know why it just wasn't on Capitol or something. But yeah, it was a band he was in for momentarily for a brief second. If my cat keeps hitting this, why you gotta do things like that? But anyway, this is Shoot on the Frontier, Now my camera angle's messed up, Oliver. Shoot on the Frontier on EMI USA 1973. So that's that. Now that Oliver's messed up my camera angle, I don't feel like pausing right now. So we'll put this over here. And the other things I purchased there, not music related, but I just have a hankering to purchase these, even though they're from before my time. And I just love looking at this stuff because I love vintage automobiles and car history. And I think I'm always chasing that feeling of staring into these things, looking at them. The feeling I had as a kid on my front porch in the summertime in the hot sun. I bought 2 vintage hot rod magazines. This is a November '63 issue of Popular Hot Rodding with some, I just love that Southern California photography. I mean, you can feel the heat coming off that concrete when you look at this. And there was one blog I was reading where a guy was researching these photos and figuring out what buildings they were shot in front of. Most of the time they're banks. One was like a water treatment plant, you know, when buildings had style. So this will be fun to look through. Then I also got an April '61 issue of Carcraft. See if you can see that there. Lots of cool stuff. This one's mainly about interiors and it has a model car section because the model cars were huge back then in the early '60s, mid '60s. But Big Daddy Ross said as soon as the Beatles came around, kids wanted nothing to do with cars anymore. They dropped cars and picked up guitars. But these are like real super cheap, and usually guys in antique malls, some have them for $2-3 like these were. Other people try to charge mucho dollars. And I'm always like, oh, it must be rare, but it can't be rare. I work in a binder now. I know magazines, we print thousands of them a day, you know, they're not rare. So anyway, that's what I picked up at the Rockford Antique Mall. The third and final store we visited was the famous Toad Hall Records in Rockford, Illinois. From what Heidi tells me, it's much different now than what she remembers as a child. I think it was in a different location and was not very well organized or clean. Much more organized now. They have a new section, a used section. As you know, they have a YouTube channel where they live stream their what's just coming into the store and everything. People are pretty friendly. It was fairly busy in there. Organized, slightly not organized, but I'm not going to critique it. I've been there, I've done that. I've worked in a store where you've had way too much and you can't keep up with it, and shit is just everywhere, and everybody wants to dig through it. But I found a few things, and like I said, I was in the middle of reading Shaky, the Neil Young biography, so I was looking to pick up some more stuff of his, and I picked up this recent release, which was, I think, a record store day thing. Neil Young with Crazy Horse, early days. Actually have not spun this yet. I'm getting to be one of those guys. I got all these records I haven't played yet or don't play. Just too much. But anyway, I really, after reading Shaky, I got a much bigger appreciation for Neil Young. I've always been a fan, not a major fan. I have the first 3 records on CD. I have On the Beach. I have Zuma on CD. I have Freedom on CD. Vinyl, I just have On the Beach. Yeah, it's the only one I have. But Crazy Horse, I just... you know, in the book, I mean, I can't tell because I'm not a musician, but in the book, they talk to other musicians in Neil's circle who were like, oh God, Crazy Horse. David Crosby was not fond of them. A lot of producers say they couldn't play worth a damn, but they did what Neil wanted. Joni Mitchell says, oh, Crazy Horse. I mean, that's the kind of band where, like, if I'm going out to a bar for an evening of dancing, yeah, great, but that level of musicianship should not be elevated to stadium level. But this, I think, was originally part of his big Archives box set. Now it's a standalone release. 1969 recordings of Crazy Horse. None of these songs are unreleased, but the performances are, from what I read. The only one that originally has been out before, or 2 of them, I think, Dance, Dance, Dance was on Decade, and it has the single edit of Cinnamon Girl, edit in being that doesn't have that little guitar coda. But it has stuff that showed up on later albums in different versions, like Come On Baby, Let's Go Downtown. I just feel like a Crazy Horse, if I was a musician, I probably wouldn't be a good one, and I'd probably be like these guys without the heroin. But Crazy Horse, and the way Neil plays with them, they just sound like a dirt road through a ranch and a log cabin, just flannel and dusty roads and fuzzy guitars. So I can't wait to dig this. It's a gatefold, but I haven't taken someone. Oh, this was used then. If it was already open, I paid full. Son of a bitch. But just black vinyl with a black inner sleeve with some stuff. I don't really haven't looked at this since I brought it home. Yeah, just visit the Neil Young archives. It's, oh no, it's a, oh hey, look at this. Clear vinyl. For you color real and vinyl nuts. I hate to sound like a cranky old man, but it's kind of like, oh, big deal. Now when I cue it up at the station, I can look really hard to see where the tracks separate. That's hard to do, man, when you're in radio. But anyway, Neil Young with Crazy Horse, early days. And this was 10 rare and unreleased versions from 1970. This came out a year or so ago. Anyway, yeah, Neil Young with Crazy Horse, early days. Next up, I was happy to find this. I don't think it's available on their website anymore. You know I love surf music. That old goat, he knows it too. And it wouldn't hurt him to pick this up if he finds it. Original copies, big money, super rare. And the man who leads the band, I think he's poo-poos it like, oh, that's my early work. But if he let this be reissued, I think he's made peace with it. Jim Messina and the Dragster and his Jesters with the Dragsters originally came out on Audio Fidelity in '64. This is the Sundays reissue. I've heard a track or two of this on other radio shows on WFMU, and it is a killer hot rod surf rock. This is mainly hot rod stuff, hence the automobiles, 2 Mustangs on there. So I really can't wait to listen to this. He also does some covers like Honky Tonk, Raunchy, The Breeze and I don't know why surf bands did The Breeze and I so much, but this is going to be really cool to spin on our radio show during our surfer instrumental set. There's the back cover. I don't think it's color vinyl or anything, but it's brand new in the new vinyl section. Jim Messina and his Jesters. Of course, Jim Messina later with Loggins and Messina. Next up, I should probably show these two together, but as we've mentioned before here on the show, on Instagram, the channel, big fans of the Everly Brothers, especially their mid-60s work. Why that stuff were not huge hits is a crime against humanity, but I found 2 mid-60s ones in here. This is from '67, the hit sound of the Everly Brothers on Warner Brothers. Kind of a weird one. I don't know why. I think one thing is they just did too many covers. Why do they have to do blue? It's 1967. Why do they have to do Blueberry Hill and Let's Go Get Stoned and House of the Rising Sun? But they're good versions. You just needed a full album of original material, which was coming with this next one I found. Now I have this on CD already, I think twice, but to find one like this super cheap was like, wow. And I felt Rescue Syndrome, one of their greatest albums, Roots, from 1968 on Warner's. Paid $10 for this, and here's the kicker why I grabbed it. White label promo. I got old record collector geeky with that. It's like, wow, white label promo. And I asked why we get excited about that, because people say, oh, these were the first ones that come off the stamper, so they sound better. But I don't really get into that too much, because I'm not an audiophile, but I get the geeky original thing and the original rapper feeling, and I had the Rescue Syndrome. And what's also cool is we bought this in Rockford, and there's a song on here called Illinois, where they mention Rockford, and Heidi laughs because they mention waves of grain or some line like that. And she's like, in Rockford? So anyway, the Everly Brothers, Roots, 1968, Warner Brothers, white label promo. And my last one, and I was surprised this was inexpensive for the release it is. I can't remember how much I paid for it though. Compilation, The Worst of the Mothers, by the Mothers of Invention. I guess it's called The Worst of the Mothers because it just has asterisks on the spine. Another 1969 compilation on Verve of the early Mothers material. Has a lot of different mixes and edits that Zappa did for the album alongside the Mother Mania comp. There's the gatefold there. Sorry, I don't mean to stumble, but we do this off the cuff. Original blue Verve. No biggie. And in our local store, I noticed recently, they have this foreign comp. I remember it came through our store once, and my friend Steve got excited, took it home, a 2 LP thing on Metro called Mother's Day, which might also have unique single mixes and edits on it. But yeah, this was just sitting there, and I had Rescue Syndrome, but it's unique because it has unique mixes on it. So the Mothers of Invention, The Worst of the Mothers on Verve. And the last thing I bought, it's not a record, but it's music related. There was a big boxes of circus magazines, and Heidi went out to the car when she was done with her purchases, and she said, look through those and see if there's anything from like the 80s, 70s that might have sparks in it. But it was all metal stuff. But buried in there was this 1970 issue of Hit Parader I picked up for just a few bucks, and Jethro Tull on the cover, and it has a story about the Who in it. I haven't cracked this open yet to look at it, but I like these early Hit Paraders. They're a little step above your typical teen magazine. So that's what I bought at Toad Hall Records in Rockford, Illinois. Okay, now here's the biggie. We didn't find this down in Rockford, but it came to us from Rockford. The mother of one of Heidi's closest friends, she was a teenager in the 60s. She originally lived in North Jersey, so she's cool with me. She sent us, she's like, oh, I have all my old records from my teen years. I don't know what to do with them. They're in the closet. She had some kind of thought like that. So John and Heidi would like them. So right before we left, a couple weeks before, she sent us a small package of some of her 45. She's like, oh, you'll like them. There's Beatles, there's Monkees, a few odd, little things. And it's kind of cool. It's cool. She gave us all her Beatles singles, and they're neat because they're like from when she was, a teen at 15 years old, at the height of Beatlemania, and she has her name written on them. So there's like this emotional connection. Some of them are really, she really, really enjoyed them. Of course, they're well played because there's two that like one skipped, one gets stuck. But I was surprised the 45, A Hard Day's Night, still has a lot of punch and plays through. But inside this collection, she's like, yeah, I think this is something. And supposedly, she actually saw these guys live sometime in 68, 69. And I just gobsmacked. She had this. No picture sleeve. There's a picture sleeve for this. But this is for all the Cheap Trick fans out there. I already showed one of my best friends back home, Big Jeff the Bopper, and he's like, whoa. But I'm sure if Emma doesn't have this, she's going to be like, oh my God, and you got that for free? Here we go. On Smack Records, Hound Dog, Cruising for Burgers by the Grim Reapers. One of two releases on this label. Like I said before, originally came with a picture sleeve, which is even rarer than the record. I have not seen many of these for sale anywhere. I think there's two on eBay for big bucks, but just because they're listed for that doesn't mean they're selling. This was a later re-release. This came out, I think, in early '69, but was then re-released when they changed their name to Fuse and came out on Epic. We actually had copies of this at our store, promo and stock, but my cost for this, free. And I owned it 3 days, shared it on Facebook in one of my private Facebook group I'm in with friends, and I had Miriam from Norton Records right away ask me, hey, you ready to sell that? I'm like, I've owned it 3 days. I can't sell it. It's a gift from, a very nice, Heidi's friend's mom. I can't sell this. I mean, I'm not a huge Cheap Trick fan, but a fan, and I was going to tease you all and go, but wow, this is like one of the biggest record scores I think I've ever had in my life so far. So 1969 on Smack, the Grim Reapers, Hound Dog, Cruising for Burgers. Look at that. I even put it in a Japanese resealable sleeve because I'm record collector scum. So that was the big score from Mrs. Saladino. Thank you, Kathy. So it's not in perfect shape. It's not near mint. If you want to grade it, it's like VG, sneaking into VG plus. I just made like a little Steven face. Silvio. Cleaned it up in the Spin Clean, which doesn't do shit. But I have my friend Ruru sent me his special sauce. He's got his own record cleaning thing. He figured out a product by Zepp Cleaners called Spree, which is like an automotive degreaser. When he was cleaning counters at his dad's gas station, he said, this might clean records, and damn, it works. So this plays really well. There's no scratches, no skips, a little bit of surface noise. I kind of prefer the B-side more. The cover of Hound Dog is just, to me, kind of, okay, bar band stuff. But the other side's really cool because Rick Nielsen's really screaming on guitar. Yeah, Rick Nielsen and Tom Peterson are the only two Cheap Trick members on this. So Smack Records, the Grim Reapers, Hound Dog, Cruising for Burgers, 1969. Okay, so now to wrap up purchases, I thought I'd show some of the things I bought very recently over at our local store, RPM Records here in Traverse City. I went in there a couple of days ago, last week, last Friday, met up with some friends who came up from the Houghton Lake area, and I told myself, not going to buy anything, don't want to buy anything. I got too much to listen to already. I'm just going to go with Rich and Kathy and browse around and let them buy stuff. I'm not going to buy anything. Of course, I got there first because I get out of work early on Fridays. Anyway, I'm walking around, and of course, something catches my eye, and I'm like, shit, I've been looking for that for a long time, and it was along the bottom shelves. Of course, I'm a sucker for hot rod records. The Marquette's Take Two Wheels from 1963 on Warner Brothers, gold label. You know, it's studio musicians, so it kind of doesn't have that edge of a lot of the Southern California surf bands, but there's got to be some good instrumentals on here to play on our show when they got names like Woody Wagon and Cobra, Stingray, Twice Pipes, Bucket Seats. So this might be really fun. There was a CD comp out on Ace several years ago that compiled a lot of the Marquette stuff, but it's gone out of print and it was limited edition anyway, so when it does come up for sale, it's pushing up in high two-digit areas. You won't find it, you know, cheap for like $15.99 or less. Last time I saw one affordable, it was like $30, and then the guy said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I listed that. I forgot I already sold it." I was like, dick. And then Heidi Lee and I were in there yesterday. Of course, she's looking for Spark stuff, but she bought some other things. I looked in their CDs, which they don't only have a small section of, but they're really cheap. So for $3.99, I got another album by this new favorite of mine, J.D. McPherson, who's a bit of a 50s rock and roller. I don't want to call him roots rock. He's just more rock and roll. I wasn't aware of this record. This is from 2010 on High Style. It's called Signs and Signifiers. And I got it home, and I didn't look at it yet. And yesterday I unfolded it, and I was like, holy crap. It's autographed by him and one of his other musicians. I was like, I mean, you might say, well, that's no big deal. It's only J.D. McPherson. He's not a superstar, but, you know, it's just cool to find something. And, hey, it's autographed. So I'm looking forward to listening to this because I was checking out one of his other albums the other day. And I bought 2 LPs, cheap stuff. This, oh no, 3 LPs. Oh no, that's something else. This I bought because, you know, I buy goofy stuff. I use it for bed music on the show or just to play to freak people out. Like, what the hell? This is Bill Black's combo, Black with Sugar, from 1968 on Columbia. Bill Black died many years earlier, but they kept the band going with his name on it. Mainly recorded for High Records, I think, or is that Ace Cannon? I don't know. Yeah, he was on High Records, Bill Black, at Memphis, and this was recorded at Memphis. Of course, this has all the covers you expect to find on an easy listening or party record. It does Hey Jude, For Once in My Life, Games People Play, Obla Di, Obla Da, but it's got something called The Funky Train, which I kind of want to hear, and also he does California Dreamin', and it's on Columbia, red label, black vinyl. Bought it from Mere Shekels, and of course it has the attractive 60s model on the cover that probably appears on a ton of like Ray Conniff records. So this was neat to find. I had seen it last time I was there and I kept eyeing it up. And the other one I got, I was thinking of this. A lot of people don't know, yeah, there's other bands on Swan Song other than Led Zeppelin and the Pretty Things and stuff. But this is Maggie Bell, Suicide Sal on Swan Song from 1975. She sang in another band before this. Maybe she was in Stone the Crow. Somebody out there will correct me, Psych Derek or somebody. But it's on Swan Song, 1975. There you go, the famous label. I picked it up because I was curious about it. And also, Jimmy Page plays guitar solos on 2 tracks. She covers also, I saw her standing there as I saw him standing there. Lead off track is a cover of Free's Wishing Well. And I just noticed last night, the last track on side 2 is a cover of a Swan Song era Pretty Things song called It's Been So Long, but none of the Pretties are on here. And the one story I was telling Heidi about this the other day, when Led Zeppelin had their launch party for the label in 1974 at some fancy hotel in California. They invited all kinds of celebrities. The most famous photos from that party of Mickey Dolenz and Robert Plant standing next to each other laughing. But they invited Groucho Marx, and the band was like very reticent, like, oh my God, I can't approach Groucho Marx. But Maggie Bell went over and introduced herself, and I heard two stories of what happened. One was she spoke to him, he heard her thick Scottish accent, and he started singing I Belong to Glasgow or something. The other story, according to the Gilbert Gottfried Amazing Colossal Podcast Listener Society, was she went up to him, introduced herself, and he went, forget that, show us your tits. And they whisked Grouch away like, okay, Grouch, time to go home. And 3 years later, he would be dead. So looking forward to hearing this and see what it sounds like. I know John Paul Jones also did some work with her, at least a live television appearance on Old Grey Whistle Test or something. This next one came from the Colectco live stream, which we kind of have a love-hate relationship with, because we see things that are like, God, that's priced that much, or we buy something, oh great, finally got that, and then a day later we're in our local and like, I overpaid. But anyway, this is Squire, the singles album, late 70s, early 80s mod power pop band that my friend Bill Luther turned me onto through an EP, which was released a couple years ago, new recordings. But this collects all their singles. I believe it's all original material on High-Low Records. Cool label there. Yeah, I can't really tell you too much more of this other than they're a cool mod band my friend Bill turned me onto. They cover Big Star's September Girls. That's the most I can tell you about. So Squire, the singles albums on High-Low Records. What I got, that's most of my recent purchases for now. So thank you all for watching. I hope you dug what you saw. We're back to making videos again. If you've seen, Heidi Lee is doing something called Sparks Timber. Check that out. It's going to be really fun. And I'll be doing videos, or we might be doing a video together once in a while. And also check out our Instagram. So take care of yourselves. Comment as you see fit. Be constructive, not destructive. And of course, hello to all the guys we watch. So this is JT saying goodbye. And remember, rock and roll won't solve all your problems, but it will help you dance all over them.